The objectives of this course are to build skills for efficiently helping your patients use exercise as a resource for taking charge of their health. I'll be presenting this in the way that you can discuss it with patients, with some background as to why we need to talk about exercise in this way to make exercise both effective but also motivating. I'll share research with you offline through email, but this is about building skills for helping your patients gain confidence in their ability to stick with an exercise program that gets them what they want for exercise. What do you want to get from this class? Take a moment to think about it. As you know, we ask you to apply what you're learning to your own exercise program by trying something new, maybe a yoga class or strength training, some kind of exercise that you've been maybe putting off or never thought you'd try. We want you to get the experience that patients will have when you ask them to try something new. Write up a one-page summary and share it with us through email so we can all learn from each other. So let's take a huge step back and look at movement in general. Why do we move? Most of the time, the reasons we move is either to accomplish a task like laundry, dishes, getting somewhere, or to take care of somebody like childcare, or to recreate and play. Movement is physical activity. Physical activity is defined as any bodily movement. It's a general term. But we know that movement promotes health. Prolonged stillness drains health, especially when it's combined with stress. It's a pro-inflammatory, which we know is a trigger for many common diseases. Movement is an anti-inflammatory, helping the lymph system do its job, and it's the antidote to stress, especially when we don't make it stressful. That's the key. Regular physical activity has some pretty powerful effects on our health. Look at these numbers. These are huge. If we had a medicine that did all of this, everyone would be on it, of course. The problem is that these don't motivate, because information does not lead to lasting motivation. The long-term health benefits of exercise that we talk about motivate providers. They don't motivate patients in the long term. This is really what motivates them. A patient said to me a long time ago, "I just want to be able to ski with my son." Those long-term health benefits that we talk about, while they're really important, they can be put off. These are the things, the big things in life that are really important right now. Those are the things that are motivators for patients. This is what we need to tap into. When we use external motivators like making the scale go down or improving health measures or using fitness challenges or exercise partners to try and stay motivated for exercise, it's like trying to keep a balloon up in the air that's filled with air. You have to keep on hitting it to get it to stay in the air. Tapping into this intrinsic motivation is like helium for motivation. It keeps the patients motivated when you connect exercise with what they really want intrinsically from exercise. If you told a patient with hypertension, "I want you to just take some medicine for that," and that's all, you sent them out of your office, would that medicine work? Maybe if they happen to find the right medicine and the right dosage, but you would probably need a little more detail, right? So the beauty about medication is in the details. We take a medication, we put it into a prescription, the exact type of medication, the timing, the dosage, the amount, the frequency, all of that goes into play to make the medicine into a treatment. Telling patients to move more is like telling them to take some meds. It's just not detailed enough for them to get the benefits from exercise. You might hear people say, "Oh, I get enough exercise running around after my kids." But is this exercise? What turns movement into exercise? And why does it matter? What's the difference? Exercise, according to the dictionary, is something practiced to improve a skill or ability. In our case, movement. So we can say exercise is when movement is practiced in order to improve a certain skill or ability. Let's look at the word practice. We all think of practice maybe with a musical instrument. And so in order to practice and get the most out of the time you're practicing, you would obviously practice specifically what you want to get better at. So if you want to learn guitar, you would play the guitar, not the flute or the drums. That's pretty obvious. You would focus. If you practice guitar while watching TV, would you expect to get better as quickly as if you practiced with full focus on what you were doing? The focus makes the practice more effective. The consistency is also important. If you kind of picked up the guitar here and there, you wouldn't expect to get better as quickly as if you picked it up on a really consistent basis every day for a few minutes. And the just right level allows the practice to be most effective. If the level is too low and you stayed at the beginner level, you'd probably get bored and feel like, what's the purpose of practicing? I'm not going to get better. But if the level jumped too fast to too high of a level, you would probably lose interest too and get frustrated and feel like you weren't going to make progress because you couldn't rise to that level. And so finding the just right level of practice and progressing that at the just right level is a key piece to keeping practice motivating and moving forward. And so if we want to practice skills and abilities, exercise is to practice the skills to make the body move well, like balance or stamina, and the ability of our systems to function well. Exercise helps all of our systems function better. So is physical activity or something like running around after the kids exercise? Let's take a look now that we know that exercise is practice to improve a skill or ability. So the motive when you're doing a physical activity like taking care of the kids is extrinsic. The motivation is about taking care of the kids. Whereas with exercise, the motivation, the motive is very intrinsic. It's to develop a skill or ability in your body for yourself. The specificity of movements that you would do for a physical activity like running around after kids is whatever you would need to do that task, whatever it is, whether it's something that's comfortable for your body or right for your body or not. Whereas exercise, you would do very specific movements to improve the specific ability and the function of the systems of your body. And the focus in physical activity is on the task at hand. If you're cleaning the house, the focus is on cleaning the house. If you're taking care of kids, the focus is on taking care of kids. If you're exercising, your focus on your body makes it most effective. Just like focusing on practicing guitar makes it more effective because the systems will send signals on how they're working. Your body sends signals and you're only going to get the most out of it if you're paying attention to your body when you're exercising, just like if you're paying attention to your body when you're practicing a musical instrument. The level of challenge needed when you're doing a physical activity is whatever level you need to get that job done. If you have to run across the street to catch a child who's running across the street, you might, go beyond your limitations in order to get that job done. Or it might be lower than what you need on a regular basis. But for exercise, you're going to find that just right level in order to feel and function better each time. So the level is very specific to the body's ability. With physical activity, the consistency depends on the activity, the season, the stage of life, right? Kids grow up, you don't need to be as active. You see people becoming less active as their kids get older. Or different seasons. Winter around here, we become less active. So it's very dependent on the activity. Whereas with exercise, as long as you're consistent with it, you're going to get the benefits. So the consistency is very tied to the motive. How long and how much do you want to feel better and function better? So we could say that exercise is time set aside to take care of your body and your brain. And when we look at how much time you'd have to set aside to get the benefits based on all the research, if you looked at the 2018 guidelines, which I'll attach to the email I send you, it really only takes 2% of your time at most. 30 minutes, 3 days a week of doing some stamina building cardiovascular exercise, 30 minutes, 2 days a week for strength training exercises, and then taking movement breaks every 30 to 60 minutes throughout your day to practice things like mobility, balance through stretching and different exercises like that can be fit in easily throughout the day. So it turns out that we really need both. We need exercise time. We need to set aside time for longer periods of time for practicing stamina and strength, extended periods of time. But we also need physical activity so that we avoid times for prolonged stillness. And where we get the most out of this is taking movement breaks, not multitasking. Because remember that stress response is a pro-inflammatory. So if we're stressful while we're moving, we're not quite getting that anti-inflammatory benefit of movement breaks. So not multitasking movement breaks, but taking movement breaks periodically throughout the day to reduce stress and use movement to do so while you're helping your body function better. And while we do that, every system in our body functions better almost instantly. Most of these are instant gratifications for the body, instant changes for the body. And those are the most motivating. If a patient knows that they can lower their blood sugar pretty instantly, or they can lower their blood pressure right after exercise and keep it down for up to 22 hours afterwards, they can reduce inflammation in their body and boost their immune system and improve mobility and reduce stress effects on their body and improve memory and focus. All of these things, mood, those are the things that are going to be most motivating for patients. So it comes down to what you practice gets stronger in both directions. Practice regularly at the just right level, specifically what you want, and your body cannot help but adapt to it. So that's the key, is this regularity of exercise and specificity of exercise. But this is a really nice thing to share with patients, that what you practice gets stronger. So what are you practicing with your body? So exercise is a movement specifically organized in a specific way for a skill and ability that you want. Just like medicine is organized through a prescription to get a treatment, movement is organized in a specific way to become exercise. Exercise is a type of movement, but done in a very specific way to get those benefits. And there's 4 principles of exercise training. Principles are facts. They're things we know about how the body works. And they align up perfectly with what makes something a practice. So there's the principle of individuality. Does the exercise allow for focus on your body, not the results of other people? So if someone's exercising in a group exercise class and they're so distracted by what their instructor is doing or people around them are doing, they're not going to get as much out of that group exercise class as being able to just focus on what their body is doing and match their needs. And the results are individual too. So if they're doing a program because it worked for someone else, they're ignoring this principle of individuality. The principle of specificity are the movements specific for the skills and abilities you want. So first we have to know what skills and abilities are important to you. For that patient who wanted to ski with his son, we designed his exercise program around the specific skills and abilities he needed to be able to ski. And that kept him motivated, and we were able to direct his movements and allow him to ski with his son the next year. The principle of progressive overload. Are you exercising at the just right level of challenge for your body right now? Guess what? That changes day to day. Our body is constantly changing. So listening to your body each moment, each day, and finding that just right level of challenge is key. We get very caught up in the numbers and think that we need to progress the numbers, but our body doesn't know the numbers. It only knows if it's challenged at the level it can adapt to, or over-challenged to a point that it has to break down to get you to stop doing what it's doing. So we can challenge through the type of exercise, we can challenge through the frequency, the intensity and the duration of exercise. And you don't want to challenge all of those at once. We want to do that very gradually. So choosing which one you want to progress is really important. And then finally, the principle of reversibility. Are you able to do it with consistency? I ask patients, how confident are you that you can stick with this? That is a key question because of this principle of reversibility. The body gets used to what we give it. And so we have to consider the science of motivation when we talk about exercise with patients. If it's not consistent, they won't get those consistent benefits. So if you think about fitness, what comes to mind? Probably not this picture, right? Maybe a picture of somebody doing a triathlon or somebody who's really muscular. And that's branches of fitness, sports fitness and bodybuilding is a type of fitness. But true fitness at its essence, as its foundation, is defined beautifully by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The ability to carry out daily tasks with vigor and alertness, without undue fatigue, and with ample energy left over to enjoy leisure time pursuits and respond to emergencies. Basically, someone's fit if they can do everything they need to do in everyday life and have energy left over to meet stressors of daily life and to have some fun. And so these are the components of fitness that go into that we need. These are the things we need to be able to do everyday life with ease and have energy left over to have fun. And so stamina is cardio, build stamina. I use the word stamina instead of cardio because it's what patients know they want. Cardio is the method to get stamina. But when you use words like stamina, patients will usually say, yes, I need stamina. I'm getting very out of breath. I'm very tired when I try and move for long periods of time. And so, okay, we're going to do some cardio to build stamina. Talk about the purpose. And so we need stamina through cardio, strength. And we talk about, what do you need strength for? What do you feel weak doing and that you want to be stronger for? What movements, what activities do you need strength for? So we can use that principle of specificity. And then we design strength training movements to strengthen those movements. Mobility is freedom of movement. It has to do with flexibility, but also being able to move freely through that range of motion. And so it also has to do with balance and agility and the ability to move freely without feeling like you're going to fall out of balance or pull a muscle. So mobility is all of those things together. And then calm is an important component of fitness, looking at that definition. If you're stressed, you can't think clearly to have some fun. You can't think clearly to meet emergencies. Exercise needs to promote calm. It needs to help trigger this relaxation response. If it's stressful, then fitness doesn't happen. Athletic fitness is a type of fitness. Very specific for those goals. If you're training to be an athlete and exercising for sports performance, the motive is very extrinsic. You might be internally motivated to want to improve, but the thing that's pushing you to push your body that hard is the fact that you're competing. You want to win, you want to get better, you want to get better than the competition. So it's very extrinsically motivated, comparing yourself to someone or something else. The specificity of movements you do is very sports specific, right? You're going to do the movements that are going to get you better at that sport. Not necessarily those are the movements that are going to get you better for movements of everyday life. The focus is on your body, but it's also on the opponent or the ball, on something else. It's not 100% on what your body needs and the way to move your body. You have to also focus on the sport that you're doing. And so the level of challenge is the level needed to gain a competitive edge. It's always pushing the limits, always pushing. This is where no pain, no gain came from. It's not needed in exercise for health and well-being. In fact, pain is a sign something needs to change. But athletes do need to push to a painful level sometimes in order to get that competitive edge. It's just part of it. And you can also get caught in this never enough mindset that you can always push to the next level. You always could be getting better than the competition. And the consistency is very seasonal or stage of life orientated. It's driven by how long do you need to be able to be doing that sport for. When the season ends or you have left that stage of life that you're playing that sport, you no longer have that trigger to train like that, and the routine is gone, and then you stop exercising. The mindset for exercise for weight loss is very driven by this culture about weight loss and this idea of what exercise for weight loss is. It can get very extrinsically motivated, exercising to make that scale go down or stay down. That becomes the big focus. The type of movement that people tend to do for weight loss are either types that will tone the body, which is a myth or a misconception, which we'll talk about, or to burn more calories and more fat. And again, getting caught in that never enough. The focus is on the numbers. How many calories did I burn? How many steps did I get? How many miles did I move? And this also is very extrinsically focused, not necessarily on how the body feels, but what you're doing is in service of trying to burn more calories, not trying to take care of your body. It can also get to the level that you're trying to keep burning more calories to fix the body even more and make it look better and burn more calories. And again, getting caught in this never enough mindset with exercise, which could make it really stressful for people who, especially those who have a busy lifestyle and can't fit in more exercise. And the consistency becomes very dependent on those numbers. I've seen people who have weight loss surgery, are losing weight, and totally lose their motivation to exercise because the scale's going down without them exercising, so why would they exercise? So when motivation is very tied to the scale, consistency becomes dependent on the scale. And without that intrinsic motivator, it's very inconsistent. The thing is, weight loss is not a goal. It's a method for getting what you want. There's an obesity paradox that says that we don't understand why people can be obese but very healthy. And when they look at fitness levels of people at different body mass indexes, it explains the obesity paradox. It tells us that health is more predicted by fitness level, not predicted very well by BMI. And so there's an independent all-cause mortality from fitness level, that the higher the fitness level, the lower the all-cause mortality, no matter what BMI is. And so this is really important to share with patients who are trying to lose weight to be healthy. Tell them that if they improve their fitness level, they are going to be healthier even before they lose weight. Yes, losing weight is going to help, but getting fit is where you're going to get the improvement in your health. And this is really important for patients to hear. So there's 4 keys to quality exercise, because what you practice gets stronger. So we need to be very particular about what we practice, just like we're particular about our prescriptions with medications. We want to focus attention on the body, minimize multitasking. Not that it's bad to multitask, just communicating to patients that the focus, when it's on your body, you're going to get much more out of it. So if you multitask, take pauses and check in on your body very frequently. But as much as possible, keep that focused attention on your body, because it's going to be your best guide. Number 2, make it specific for what you want. Figure out what you want from exercise first. Not weight loss, because it's not a goal, but what do you want from weight loss? Do you want more energy? Do you want more health? Do you want more ability to do things specifically? Train for that rather than train for something not so specific like weight loss or reducing risk of diabetes. Make it a very gradual progression so the body can adapt to a 10% increase in exercise per week. 10%. So if you're exercising for 30 minutes, increasing to 33 minutes would be the next goal. That is not much. It's not what we wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do it if I didn't know the 10% rule. But it's physiologically what our body can adapt to. So this is important. This is working with your body, starting at finding your baseline level and starting there and then increasing by 10% per week just reduces the risk of injury and keeps exercise enjoyable. And then number 4, the body is the boss. You got to listen to it. Pain is a sign something needs to change. There is no gain in pain when you're exercising for health and well-being. We need to get that message across. There is a huge mix-up in our culture about exercise for athleticism and exercise for health and well-being. And as we saw before, they're very different purposes with very different ways to arrange movement for that goal. And so if you're exercising for health and well-being, listening to your body is the number one way to get what you want from it. And paying attention to pain makes the biggest difference in terms of consistency. So quality cardio or stamina building exercise is one that's continuous. To build stamina means you're able to move for a longer period of time. So we want to move for a longer period of time continuously. Putting on music and dancing, going out for a walk, riding a bike, any movement that's continuous and not stop and go. If someone's walking a dog, does the dog stop and go a lot? Do you need to not walk with the dog to improve your stamina? So we've got to ask those questions about how continuous is that activity. Is it at a sustainable level? So is it at that intensity that's comfortable for breathing? Is it at a sustainable level in terms of what's tolerable for your body so that you don't have to stop either during a workout or you don't have to stop because you've incurred an injury? So you want to find that comfortable challenge for breathing. Find a type of exercise that's not painful and find what is enjoyable, because if it's enjoyable, you'll keep coming back for more. This is a way to describe how to self-monitor exercise intensity. Heart rate, believe it or not, is not a very good way for most people to measure their exercise intensity. If it was just about getting our heart rate up, then we could just sit around and drink coffee or sit in a traffic jam and be very stressed and get a good cardio workout. It's not about getting heart rate up. Heart rate is a measure of what's happening in the cardiovascular system. It's not the goal of cardiovascular exercise. The goal is to challenge the entire system, not just the heart. And so our breathing tells us what system you're using, whether it's aerobic or anaerobic. And when you're working in aerobic metabolism, then your body can move in a sustainable way. If you're working anaerobically, where you're breathing very uncomfortably, then eventually your body's going to have to stop to get more oxygen to sustain that activity. So this is rating breathing level. It's very subjective, but it works. So exercising at a level that feels moderate to comfortable challenge for breathing, meaning feels comfortable, a little over everyday life kind of stuff, maybe a nice challenge or a comfortable or a motivating challenge. But if it starts getting uncomfortable, if you start checking your watch and thinking, when can I stop? That's the time to slow down a little bit and bring it back in that yellow zone of moderate to comfortable challenge. This is aerobic training. This is stamina building. Yes, HIIT training works, but it works in a good short-term way. It will improve cardiovascular fitness faster, but the payoff is it's way uncomfortable, and most people are not going to keep that up. And quality strength training, we'll go over this a little more in detail in each class, but we talked about alignment in class. We talked about core control. This is the foundation of strength. Having alignment means you line up your muscles to work at their strongest. So teaching alignment before strength is key to helping the body work well. And then teaching the core muscles to do their job to support alignment during movement is the whole purpose of the core. Crunches, sit-ups, even planks don't teach the core to do its job to stabilize the spine while moving the arms and legs. And then you want to train movements because we want to teach our muscles to coordinate together, train the nervous system to coordinate those muscles to create movements that are done in the way with alignment. Movements are also more motivating. They're very specific and they're much more motivating for what that person wants. You want to train the nervous system first because that's what controls the muscles. So if you don't train the nervous system first for the first couple of weeks and teach the nervous system how to coordinate that movement, then the muscles won't be able to train as efficiently. Mindful attention on the body keeps you able to keep your body in alignment. Gradual progression allows you to move from training the nervous system to challenging the muscles, and then keep the level of challenge at the motivating challenge, meaning pain-free. So, what turns information into motivation? There's 4 keys to lasting motivation that generally are ignored in the popular culture when it comes to exercise and fitness. Exercise needs to be rewarding. Now, I don't mean go out and get an ice cream sundae after your workout, of course. It means rewarding makes you feel better. And what makes this habit loop happen is there's a cue, meaning you go to exercise, you do that on a regular basis, and you consistently get a reward, meaning you feel better in some way from it. What creates this habit loop in the brain that makes us do things over and over again is the fact that you're doing something on a regular basis and you're consistently feeling better from it. So when exercise makes us feel worse, in pain or tired or mentally worse or feeling less than other people, the reward is negative, and our brain is set up to avoid things that make us feel worse and consistently do things that make us feel better. Exercise needs to make us feel better in order for it to become a habit. Intrinsic motivators. When something is intrinsically motivating, it's rewarding. It's something that's important to you, so that feeds into that reward feedback. That means minimize the external motivators because they drain the focus from these internal motivators. Minimize distractions because they're a sign that you're using temporary motivation. They're a sign that you're not feeling good with exercise and you have to distract from it, and you're probably going to not stick with it. Compassion, kindness, empathy have all been shown to improve the ability to stick with an exercise program. When we use fear to motivate, such as, you will die if you don't start exercising and lose weight, that will work. It will get people's attention. But after a while, the fear will become a negative motivator and a negative reward, and people will find a way to avoid that activity. So we have to use compassion, kindness, and empathy and see exercise as an act of kindness for the body, instilling that in patients. And lastly, that it's a choice, not a should. When we tell patients they should exercise, they're more likely to avoid it. When they have a sense of choice, connecting it with what they want, they're much more likely to stick with it. We're going to go over these in more details. This is just to kind of get you thinking about connecting our exercise science principles and our motivation science principles and how they work together with each other.